Welcome to a lesson in social studies. This is for 5th standard and today's lesson is the grasslands. As the name indicates, the grasslands, it is referring to an area covered with grass. Now the grasslands are there in Australia, you will find them in South America, in Russia and in North America also. And they are known by different names in all these areas. But in India, as such, we don't have a very definite stretch of land demarked as grasslands. You will find grasslands in the foothills of the Himalayas where there's a good bit of meadows and green grass growing around. But other than that, you don't have a particular geographical area demarked as grasslands in India. The foothills of the Himalayas are supposed to be known, generally known as the grasslands in India. So let's get on to the lesson on page 233, the grasslands. Which part of India is called the rice bowl of India? The delta, Krishna Godavari delta is known as the rice bowl in India because a lot of rice is cultivated there. Why is it called so? It is called so because a lot of rice is cultivated there and rice happens to be the basic staple diet of the Indians. 3. What kind of climate does this region have? Now, rice needs a hot and humid climate for its growth. So this area, that is the Godavari Krishna Delta, has this apt climate. It is hot summers, that is ranging to 42 degrees centigrade and 30 degrees centigrade in winter. So it has very hot summers and not so very cold winters, which is very apt for growing this crop, rice. Now, what are grasslands? Grasslands are areas where grass is the main form of vegetation. In these regions, there is a long dry season and the rainfall is relatively low. Big trees do not grow here. The whole land is covered with dense grass which survives the dry season by simply dying, leaving seeds to germinate in the next growing season. The temperate grasslands lie between latitudes 23.5 degrees north and 66.5 degrees north and 23.5 degrees south and 66.5 degrees south. Now, as I told you, the name indicates grasslands that are vast areas of land covered with grass. Now here in grasslands, you will not find big trees. Now you may ask me the reason why. Well, the reason is that because there is not a regular rainfall. Now big trees, the sapling, they need a proper amount of rainfall for their growth. That is one thing is lacking in the grassland. The rainfall is very scanty and very, very irregular. So when this happens, the water content is very less in the soil. Now, for a sapling, for a big tree, for a sapling of a big tree to grow, it needs water. And the roots will go deep down into the soil to find water. But since the rainfall is less, the undertable, that is the ground water, is very, very far below. And by the time the roots reach this water under the ground, it will die. So very clearly, we don't find big trees growing in the grasslands. That is one reason. And the second reason is that the sapling of the big trees, they need a lot of nutrients for their growth. Now, so many nutrients are absent in this soil, that is in the grasslands. So that is why you will find the growth of big trees is not found in the grasslands, and grasslands favor the growth of this grass only. So just remember, big trees do not grow in the grasslands because of two main factors. One is the soil is not rich in nutrients, and the second is because of the scanty rainfall. Big trees need a lot of good rainfall for their growth, which is not available in the grassland. Different names. The temperate grasslands are called by different names in different countries. In North America, they are known as prairies, and in South America, they are called pampas. In South Africa, this region is called wells. Wells, please don't say wildernis, it is wells. And in Australia, downs. In Russia, the grasslands are known as steppes. Not steppes, it is just steppes. So, as I told you, in India, we don't have a particular area demarked as grasslands, but usually it is the meadows or the valleys or the foothills of the Himalayas that are classified or said to be the grasslands. But in the other countries, like you can say North America, it is known as prairies. In South America, it is called pampas. In Australia, it is called downs. In South Africa, it is called wells. And in Russia, it is known as steppes. Next page. Prairies. Now, what are prairies? The prairies stretch from central part of the United States of America, west of the Mississippi, that is the river, to the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. This region consists of flat or hilly land covered by tall grass for miles and miles. This gives the impression of a sea of grass. The prairies are watered by the Mississippi River and its tributaries. So here, this is talking about the prairies in America, and they stretch from the central part, that is from the middle of America, to the west of the Mississippi, that is a river, to the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, so quite a large area. And there is an abundant growth of grass, and if you were to stand and see, it will look as though it is a sea of grass. The grass grows to such a great height and so much that you will not find anything else. If you stand and look, you will find that it looks like a sea of grass. And the prairies are watered by the Mississippi River and its tributaries. So in case there is not much rainfall also, the Mississippi River and the tributaries give water to the prairies here. Climate. Being in the temperate zone, the prairies have hot summers and cold winters. There is moderate rainfall in summer, though occasional winter showers do occur. Now it is in the temperate zone. The prairies are in the temperate zone. So what happens is they have hot summers and cold winters. And as I told you, the grasslands do not have much rainfall. They have rainfall, but that is not very, very heavy. And some showers, a little bit of them in winter also. Now coming to vegetation and wildlife on page 225. The soil here is dark and fertile. Earlier only tall grass grew in this region in summer, which it turned brown in autumn. Herds of bisons roamed around freely. But with the arrival of people in this area, most of the bisons were killed for meat. Now much of this area has been cleared for agriculture. The main crops grown are wheat, maize, barley and rye. In the northern prairies, wheat is the chief crop grown. The production of wheat is so high that the USA is able to export surplus wheat to other countries. The prairies of North America are also called the wheat basket of the world. Cotton is cultivated in the southern prairies. Now again, we are coming back to the vegetation. The vegetation is nothing but tall grass for miles and miles around. But the soil is very dark and fertile, so a lot of agriculture can be done. And you will see that the crops grown are wheat, maize, barley and rye. Now rye is a type of grass that is grown actually as fodder. Fodder means food for animals, or also it is known as a forage crop. F-O-R-A-G-E. Forage crop means it is grown for the food of animals. And you will find that in the northern parts of these prairies, the northern prairies, you will find a lot of wheat is grown. And wheat is grown in such an excess quantity that America is able to export wheat to other parts of the world. And so this particular area is known as the wheat basket of the world. Now I stop here for today. Your homework will be to read through the particular headings that I have touched today. That is, what are grasslands, different names, prairies, vegetation and wildlife.